Zombies, monsters that are both terrifying and strangely fascinating. From iconic TV shows like The Walking Dead to legendary games like Resident Evil, these creatures, once human, now mindless killing machines, have taken over our screens and our imaginations. But here's the question nobody really stops to think about seriously. What if it wasn't just fiction? What if a zombie apocalypse actually happened? And not in some distant, unnamed city, but right here in the United States of America. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Forget the Hollywood version. Forget the dramatic slow walks through empty streets with cool survivor gear. We're going to break down, realistically and honestly, how a zombie outbreak would actually unfold on American soil. And the truth might surprise you. Let's start from the very beginning. Day 1. The outbreak begins somewhere. Maybe a lab accident, maybe a virus that mutated, maybe something we can't even explain yet. It doesn't matter where exactly. What matters is what happens in the first hours. And in those first hours, almost nobody would know what they're actually looking at. You'd see videos on social media of people acting violently, biting others, moving erratically. The first reaction from most Americans? That person is on drugs. And honestly, that's not even an unreasonable assumption. The news would try to cover it, officials would try to downplay it, and by the time anyone in charge admitted something serious was happening, the infection would already be spreading faster than any containment effort could handle. Now here's where the United States faces a very unique challenge compared to other countries, and it's not what you might think. Yes, Americans are well armed. Yes, there are more civilian-owned firearms per capita in the US than almost anywhere else on Earth. But that also means that in the chaos of the first days, you'd have millions of panicked, armed civilians making decisions based on fear and incomplete information. Friendly fire, accidental shootings, people mistaking a confused or injured survivor for an infected. It would be an absolute disaster within the first 24 hours. The firepower is there, but the discipline and coordination, that's a whole different story. Speaking of coordination, let's talk about the government response. The United States has FEMA, the CDC, the National Guard, and one of the most powerful military forces in the world. On paper, that sounds like an incredible advantage. But here's the reality. Bureaucracy is slow. By the time the federal government officially declared a national emergency, activated the military, and got boots on the ground in the right places, major urban centers like New York City, Los Angeles, and Chicago would already be overwhelmed. These are cities with millions of people packed into dense environments. Subways, apartment buildings, crowded streets. A zombie virus would spread through those environments like wildfire. There would simply be no realistic way to contain it once it reached that scale. And then there's the social element, which people almost never talk about. Americans are deeply divided, politically, culturally, socially. In the middle of a zombie apocalypse, you wouldn't just have one unified population fighting together. You'd have groups who believe the government is lying about the outbreak. You'd have people refusing to evacuate because they don't trust official orders. You'd have communities hoarding resources and turning against neighboring towns. And yes, just like in the movies, but probably even worse in real life, you'd have people who are more dangerous than the zombies themselves. Human nature under extreme stress is not pretty. And the United States, with its deep social tensions, would see that play out in some very dark ways. Now, let's get practical. If you were one of the people who actually kept a cool head in those first hours, what should you do? The answer is almost counterintuitive. Stop. Don't run. Don't panic. Your first priority is shelter and supplies. If you're at home, stay there. The worst thing you can do in the early hours of a zombie outbreak is hit the roads with everyone else, because roads become death traps almost immediately. Gridlock, accidents, infected people wandering through stopped traffic, the highway becomes a horror show within hours. Your home, as ordinary as it seems, is one of the safest places you can be in the short term, as long as you have food, water, and the ability to stay quiet and unseen. One of the biggest mistakes people imagine they wouldn't make, but absolutely would, is opening the door for someone who seems to need help. It sounds cold, it sounds heartless, but in a zombie apocalypse scenario, letting an unknown person into your shelter is one of the most dangerous things you can do. Not just because they might be infected, but because even uninfected people become unpredictable under that kind of stress. Desperate people do desperate things. This is one of the hardest psychological realities of a true survival scenario, and most people are simply not mentally prepared for it. Let's also address the elephant in the room, the international response. If a zombie outbreak began in the United States and showed signs of spreading beyond its borders, the reaction from other world powers would be extreme and fast. Countries like Russia, China, and even close allies would immediately close their borders and quarantine anything coming from US territory. There's also a very real possibility, uncomfortable as it is to say out loud, that other nations might consider more drastic measures to prevent global spread. The United States, despite its military power, would find itself in an unprecedented position of being isolated and potentially targeted, not because anyone wants to destroy it, but because the rest of the world simply cannot afford to let the infection go global. And finally, let's be honest about something that movies and games never really show you. Survival isn't cool. It isn't fun. It isn't an adventure. After the first week, assuming you made it through the first week, which statistically most people wouldn't, you'd be exhausted, terrified, and completely uncertain about every decision you make. The people who survive long-term in real disaster scenarios aren't the ones who watch the most action movies. They're the ones who stay calm, think clearly, cooperate with others carefully, and make smart decisions under pressure. That's a skill set very few people actually have, no matter how many times they've watched Rick Grimes navigate the apocalypse. So if you've ever thought a zombie apocalypse would be kind of exciting, think again. The real version, especially in a country as complex and densely populated as the United States, would be one of the most terrifying, chaotic, and devastating events in human history. And the scariest part? The zombies might not even be the biggest problem.